Hello everyone, this is Baduk, and I ended up missing my video last week because I ended up having problems with the two separate videos that I recorded, which were quite annoying. And I actually ended up losing my first game at 1Q, my first game on that account in general on Fox. And I'm a little disappointed that the video is kind of unwatchable because there is doubled audio, which is very, very annoying. I was thinking of reviewing them both, but I think this game is good enough for one video. And I'm actually going to be uploading the other one as my first membership YouTube video. But first, let's go into this game. So here I am white, and my opponent is, of course, black then. And normally, with this sort of opening, when your opponent opens with 2, 3, 4 points, like you see here, we don't often approach a 4/4 stone. Something you could see is approaching in the 3/3, because in the 3/3, it's a little bit more pressure. You don't really want to let black get the first move here, and so you're likely to respond. And so this would be a little bit more of a forcing move, you could say. And so when my opponent approaches, especially on the inside here, I very much like to just approach my opponent's stone instead. However, in this game, I wanted to keep it very simple. And in this case, just answering my opponent's stone is something that I like to do. But my opponent plays this slide next. And as I said, the approach was already not really that forcing. And so the slide means that I can definitely tanuki. If he doesn't want me to tanuki, he needs to attach. This doesn't mean that he will get sente here, but we're probably going to finish the local position first, and then I'll be able to play somewhere else. But because he just slides, this opens up many opportunities for me, including this sort of pincer, which I believe AI very much prefers instead of you answering in the corner at C17. So here, I go and approach the stone that I wanted to approach to begin with. When he attaches underneath, we just play this basic joseki. Everyone knows this for the most part, right? And I get to pull back here. This is very good for me because it also lessens the threat of this sliding move at B16. Because now, if he takes the corner, I don't even have to respond anymore. And if I do want to respond, I can move towards the center and potentially grow this area into an moyo. Something that he should actually consider here right now, if he doesn't want to take the corner, is to actually just play this move now. This simplifies the game by quite a lot, because if I take the corner, this is just in game now. And I can't really pressure him anymore because he can also just take this corner. There's no real way to attack these stones severely. So this is a really great way to settle the stones and to prevent me from trying to grow. But instead, what he decides to do is take my 3/3, if I remember right, and I block this way. A nice, easy way for me to block. The bottom side is going to be very small. I couldn't remember if he pushed or jumped there, but the bottom side is going to be very small, very flat because it's all third line. And as I pointed out earlier, I have this nice C12 move here to sort of coordinate well with my entire side of the board. He decides to just go to the corner, which is the normal joseki here. You usually do not want to jump out. I get to take the corner and then we turn into a fight. White is the one that's stronger in this local area. If these were black stones on the bottom, this would perfectly be acceptable, but these 3 stones are white. So it's going to be a difficult fight for black. Taking the corner makes a lot of sense, and then I get to play the normal joseki here. Now, normally, black would double hane, and it would be a ladder, but the ladder doesn't work if I remember right. I didn't double check it just now, but if I remember right, when I was reading it in the game, it didn't work. But even just extending here, it used to be considered bad for white, but it's actually quite annoying for black. Black ends up just extending instead. I believe that is also a possibility. And cutting, which is not a possibility here. This is where we get into some more very basic moves. And this is why I was really liking this game and enjoying the commentary until I made a mistake quite later on in the game and got very greedy. So here, you don't really want to Atari this stone in any way because Ataring it is just going to make it stronger. Yes, we can kind of grow the top side if we want to Atari like this and push here to save this stone, or we could go down, Atari, and jump and try to fight like this. This is entirely possible. But it's usually better to just play these exchanges without the Atari. Ataring is often only good if there's a specific reason for it. And that reason wasn't quite good enough because there's a possibility of it becoming a very complicated fight in that way. He decides to jump a little bit bad. He should take a liberty, but not too big of a deal. But I get to play this nice jumping move here. Again, not playing the Atari. And now he has to deal with whatever is happening here. He decided to slide first. And I probably don't actually even have to answer. But this is the first area where I started to think that maybe I should try to look for simpler moves or have a better idea of how to keep my stones a little bit more strongly connected. Because what I should be doing here is actually playing e17. This means that black can push once. It's a slight territorial gain for black. But I get to Hane here. He has to protect, and I can protect on the outside. After protecting on the outside, this area is very thick, and it's difficult for him to really use this stone in a very strong way. I can just jump up here, make this side, and what is he doing? But instead, I block here at f18. This is still good, and it's not really going to lose me the game, even at higher ranks. In this case, he's able to push and cut because this corner is alive. He doesn't really have to worry about any sort of Aji here. And so now that we talked about how you should not Atari a stone, in this case, I'm going to Atari a stone. Here, we have a little bit of a weakness, right? Now, it's going to be difficult for black, but making a game complicated is one way to win against a stronger player. Anything can happen in a fight. Anyone can make a mistake. So in this case, we want to defend our weakest side. We could just jump up, but we don't really want to give any extra forcing moves on the top either. As in allowing him to Hane, maybe do a double Hanes, or maybe do this Knight's move. There could be lots of options here. So I want to Atari here first. He extends, and then I protect. In this case, it's because if he just turns, now we have a safe group here. He's not really able to cut us off and use his other cutting stone. Whereas if we just jump, this move is a little bit more strong towards this side, and it's going to be a little bit more of a complicated fighting position. It's still probably fine, but I don't want to have to deal with too much. So Ataring here strengthens the weaker side, and then jumping to keep everything strong. If you don't have stones on the top like this, it can be a little bit harder to do. But because I have this extra backup, this extra strength, it's perfectly acceptable to play this way. He pushes one time, I believe, here. I have to back off. Not like that. I have to back off. And he jumps out. And this is actually a really good shape thing to point out for everybody. You could try to Atari to get out, or even push here, but he stays ahead of you, which is a little bit not great. You're just strengthening black in this case. What you really should be doing here is not focusing on the shape move that makes an eye, but focusing on the shape move that disconnects black stones. In this case, that's this jumping move here. Often you shouldn't play this because black can push in and split the stones. But in this case, we're separating, not making eye space. So let's play a very simple move of just connecting here. Black can cut here and capture this stone, but it's not Sente, and we can make sure that this stone is dead. If you try to play anything else, it can be a little bit more difficult, but this is sort of the vital point to separate the stones. If black extends here, you can now see that this is the elephant eye. Black ends up playing this diagonal, and I end up just keeping my group secure by capturing the cutting stone. Whenever you're able to capture a cutting stone, it's often good to do so, just to make sure that you are very solid in the game. As you can see here, my shape in this game actually ended up being very beautiful, and my opponent ended up having an awkward position in the center that they have to now deal with. So they push in, I just connect to be very solid, and he Ataris here, but it's not Sente. I could try to keep attacking him, but it's hard to say for sure which the best direction is and how much profit I can get. And there is a 3-4 stone that still needs to be approached. So that's definitely what I'm going to prioritize here. Kick and back off, which means I get to play a nice extension. Playing on the third line now, because the board's very developed, and I want this to be a more secure group. So third line's a little bit better than fourth line. Earlier in the opening, fourth line can sometimes be better because center control is very important. So we just play some normal moves now. When they play this diagonal, it's often good to attach here. I'm just attaching to get some extra strength for this side, so I don't have to owe an extra move here, because that would be a little bit annoying. When he hanes, you can do this tiger's mouth. If he backs off here, you can do a double hane. And this allows you to sort of settle this area in a nice way very quickly. This works because if black Atari's here, you don't have to connect and let him fight here. You can actually Atari from this side. He captures, you connect, and this is threatening to capture the corner. If he decides to take the center, you get the corner. And unless black has a giant moyo here, like if these were all black stones, this would probably be good for black, and you wouldn't want to play this way. But if you have a balanced position like we have here, where I have some strength on most sides of the board, and black has a little bit of strength everywhere as well, then this is a very good trade for white in this case. If we go back here, this is a totally acceptable way to play. You could even Tanuki now, or you could even make this exchange right away so that it's already there on the board. Then if black cuts, you have this sort of squeezing position here like this, which is what happens if black decides to block here in the other variation as well. Go back to the game. He ends up Atarying here, which is slightly bad, I think, but not really that big of a deal. And connecting, then we get to do some double hanes. I had to connect, he connects, and I get to play a very nice, strong connection move, well, strong base move here. If he was able to play that, he could harass my group. If I'm able to play this, I can actually harass his corner a little bit. He does reduce, which was good. This was the other option that I actually had here. I could be playing a jumping move here instead to try to harass this group. And I think either option is okay. He can connect here and then sort of just attach. And I think he's basically alive right away. So I didn't really care about doing this right now. I felt it was better to take a move on this side. So he reduces. I just take the points because it's more than big enough. And I'm able to solidify this area. He tries to get a little bit more, but I can just block him. And he tries a fancy Tesuji here. But a Tesuji is only a Tesuji if it works. And sadly, this does not work. It looked cool at first, but it's actually just kind of a bad shape for black. There's the Hane head of 2 stones here, which gets rid of a lot of liberties in black's position. And I can still Hane here at G12. So I'm able to push through and break black's shape here, making my area very strong. Because if black connects here, I can Hane over, and the stones just don't have enough liberties to survive. So black actually plays the proper way by doing this one to sort of fix the shape. But you can see that after I connect, black's shape is extremely bad here. So he cuts and just protects his group. The game is just over at this point, but something ends up happening here in just a second, which ended up being quite bad for me because I asked for a little bit too much. I got greedy. I think we play I control the center and he protects his group. And then we just play some end game moves here. And so just end game. I get to take my profit that I was threatening with my approach here at R12. He tries to get a little bit more, but I'm okay with just blocking. It doesn't bother me too much because I can Hane here. Something to really remember, you don't always have to connect like this when protecting a cutting point. If you read out the cutting point, you can decide where the connection needs to be. If black cuts and extends here, yes, this group is a little bit dangerous and likely just attach and kill the stones, but there's more that I have to worry about than I would want. Instead of protecting it directly, you saw that he had to extend down here. And so if I can get some extra move on the top, this would help fix this problem. So I Hane, so I Hane and connect, which is already a big move. And now this cut is not a big deal, even if he surrounds my group. Here we're coming up on my mistake. I made a little bit of a mistake here. I got a little excited when he did this bamboo joint, because I thought, oh, I can attach here now, but I can't do this. That's no good because I just die, right? And so I realized that right after, because I clicked it right away, and then I'm like, oh wait, no, I can't do that. So I fix, and then he captures, and I don't have to worry. We just play more end game again. But he correctly points out that instead of that Hane, or instead of continuing on with that Hane, what I should be doing is actually playing the bottom left. So he got me there. And Sente as well. We do a little exchange here. And then I peep, and this is where the mistake comes in. He ends up connecting this way when he should have actually connected the other way. This is going to reduce a little bit here, but staying strong on this side probably gives a couple more points. But it's because I can push through and cut here, which is what I do in the game. But I'm ahead. I don't really need to push and cut and do all this extra fancy stuff. If we look at the board here, if we look at the board here, I should actually be ahead by Komi, or a little bit more than that, because he has some bad shape that he has to deal with here. I can probably capture these stones. I can probably Hane overhead and capture this stone. And it's going to be a perfectly fine game. I could have tried to fight back and force the game to be a larger difference, but I think it's fine to just make the game go to end game like this. If I didn't play this really bad move in the upper left, and I got the proper Hane in the bottom left, then it would be a 10 over, like around a 10-point difference instead of like a 5 or more point difference. A much more comfortable game. So I don't have to push and cut or do anything fancy here, because I actually have some potential in the center. Because this push and cut is available, I can actually just jump here in the center. He should be protecting. We can maybe do something like this if we really want to. And then we can jump out and make a couple more points here. But in the game, I got greedy. I push, I cut, and Atari and push up here. Because if this is fine, I've reduced a lot on the bottom, and he has a weak group that he has to deal with. So he plays this diagonal, so I surround. This is a good move. He plays another diagonal, so I surround again, which is also still a fine move. But the problem is, when he pushes and jumps here, my group isn't dead. This actually ends up being a Seki, but Seki's not really that good. But I forget to protect on the outside, and that's actually what I need to do in this case. Because I didn't protect on the outside, and I got a little bit worried about my group, I end up actually dying on the inside because I forgot about the other side of my group here and let him cut through and really hurt my position. So you saw I got very greedy. And this group definitely does not have enough liberties to fight against this group, sadly. If I want this to actually work, I do actually have to, I can still play all this and this and this. This is all fine, but I have to at some point come back and connect here, or maybe even play a move like this. And then it should actually just be a Seki in this area. I think I might have to take liberty on the outside for that to work though. But if this happens, I lose a couple points, but I gained a lot on the bottom. And so it's probably okay. But a little bit awkward of a position for me. I think we play a few more moves. I was talking in the game. And yes, it does not work out for me. Because as you can see, there's not enough liberties here. Very, very sad. But again, that's what happens when you get a bit too greedy in a situation here. So I hope you liked this video, and I hope that was a good lesson for you. I know there was a lot of really good information in this game, which is why I was disappointed that the audio was doubled, like I said. But before we go, I do want to say a quick thank you to the people who are supporting me on Patreon. Every little bit of support helps. But if you just want more content in general, more videos, definitely check out my membership area as well. I probably won't advertise it too much, because the first video that I'm going to be posting should be around the same time that this one goes up. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you have a good day and have fun.